On this Wednesday, you're listening to 102.3 WHTL in Whitehall, Wisconsin. It's time for Open House with Hanson Realty Group.
It's time for the open house on WHTL.
What are you, some kind of real estate agent?
You're joking, right? I don't joke about real estate.
With the Hanson Real Estate Group.
I never understood why people are so afraid to eat at an open house.
I know. The open house starts right now.
And it does here on every Wednesday at WHTL, and I'm being joined in the studio by Josh Baecker from Hanson Realty Group. Hello, Josh. How are you?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
Oh, let me turn on your microphone. It always works better. There you go. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And before we get to real estate, I got to say congratulations. You're a new dad.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How exciting.
2 weeks today.
Yes. That's what, 2 daughters now?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And you sleeping through the night yet?
Mostly. She's been pretty good, so.
Well, there you go. That's what counts. So congratulations to you and the wife, and always exciting. Daughters are okay. I'm a little partial to them. I've got 2 daughters myself, so I don't have any problem with that.
Oh, I don't either. Everybody's here and healthy, and that's what counts.
That is what counts. All right, real estate. You want to talk about something that I know crosses a lot of people's minds, and there's pros and cons when you get down to this, but you're talking about investment properties today. And I would imagine that that's something you probably get asked about quite a bit.
Yeah, throughout my career, I've been asked this by quite a few people locally, and it's some people serious and some people kind of just thinking about it, first asking about how it works and what you do. So it's just something I want to touch on. I know a lot of people think about it, and it ends up being a little more complicated than they think, because the financing is a little bit different than residential. But and then there's other ways to invest in real estate. Obviously, rental properties are kind of what people think: buy a house or units and rent them out. But you can also buy commercial space in strip malls and businesses, offices, or just land in general. A lot of people like to buy land. Both, you can rent it out for crops or hunting for income, but some people just buy it to invest money, and it appreciates over time, and then they'll sell it 10, 15, 20 years later.
Well, the cost of land is never going to go down.
Nope.
So, I can see where that would be a pretty good investment. But do you think most people, when they think of investment property, they're thinking about rental units? Is that what you think? Is that the norm?
Yep, that's kind of what I've gathered. Just the way people talk and ask questions, that's usually what everybody's thinking about, just buying a house and renting it out, because you get that income right away. The appreciation factor is kind of a long-term thing a lot of people don't think about. But it's just nice to have that steady source of income or steady extra source of income.
I would imagine the downside is you become a landlord.
That is the downside.
Yeah. So
not as glorious as people make it out to be.
Yep. You're always on call.
You are.
And you're on the hook if something needs to be replaced. So there's always an upside and a downside.
Yep, and nothing ever goes out at an opportune time.
No, it never does.
It's always on the weekends or on a Sunday night, and
I would imagine finding the right renters is also an issue too. I mean, you've got to be pretty careful when you get down to that, I would think, don't you?
Yep, it's just like, selling real estate, renting it out. You can't discriminate for any reason, so you have to go through the whole system, and if people qualify, you can set your standards for what you want. But if they meet them, you have to rent to them.
Sure. And hope they pay the rent every month.
That is another aspect of it. So
okay, now if people are talking about getting into the rental market or investing in real estate of some sort, now you said the financing is different. Explain that.
Yep. So the first thing I would do is talk to your bank and kind of give them your information so they can run everything for you. It's not like, you do have income to factor into your mortgage amount, so it's not the same as your residential, but it's more risky on their part. So the amortization is typically 10, 15, 20 years usually, where your residential homes, a lot of people will take out 30-year notes.
Sure.
It's just a little riskier. Your interest rates are usually a little higher with investment properties, and then the down payment amount is substantially more. Some of those secondary market home loans you can get for 0 to 5%. Otherwise, a lot of local lenders will be around 10, but a lot of investment properties, they want 20 to even 30% down.
Well, why is that? You say it's riskier. Why do banks look at it as more risky?
I just think because tenants, it's not their house. You're always going to be more careful with your house. So, there's just always a risk that they're going to devalue the property. You can't really check on them every single day to make sure everything's going fine. It's just riskier on their part having other people living there and multiple families and, insurance wise too. It's just riskier and more liability with more people living there.
Now, from a rental standpoint, how is the rental market now? If you own, let's say, rental properties, is there a big market for people looking to rent homes or maybe duplexes today?
Oh yes, there's plenty of demand for housing both from the rural area around here up to Eau Claire, La Crosse. There's quite a bit of demand for housing.
So it would seem to me that one of the biggest hurdles you'd have to come to grips with, number one, of course, is the financing, but the down payment, that's a pretty good stroke of cash right there.
That is. And, we're living in a day and age now where not a lot of people keep cash, both young and old. People have credit cards, and they kind of cash on hand is not as common as it used to be.
Yeah, and banks don't take credit cards for down payments.
Nope. So that's kind of the first way I like to steer people is talk to the bank to let them know how much they want down, and you can start saving. If you have a house, you can take equity out of that. Or obviously people that have been in real estate and rental properties, they will, if you get one kind of paid off or down there, you can take equity out of it to buy your next one. So
okay, so you're going to start looking at properties. I would imagine that there's a lot of different factors that come into play as to whether or not it's a good investment for you. And, I would think the price range, and you've got to factor in a lot of other expenses too. What other expenses would people look at if they're looking at purchasing a rental property?
So the first thing I always look at is obviously what rent it's bringing in. That's kind of going to be your baseline for everything. Then you can take your taxes off and your real estate taxes, and then your insurance, which, you can call an insurance agent and just kind of get a rough estimate on it. Because your insurance, your principal and interest, and then your insurance and taxes are going to be your main cost. So for calculating cash flow. So you obviously want that amount to be less than what your rent income is so that you have money left over for profit and for maintenance. And then it depends how old it is. If it's a newer unit, you can get away with less cash flow, having less repairs. But if it's an older, if it's 20, 25, 30 years old, things are going to start going out. You got to kind of factor that in. And it's very competitive market out there, both rural, Eau Claire. It's been pretty competitive. So
now, what tends to be a better rent option? Okay, so if you're looking to get into the rental market, is it newer construction that's a smarter move, or is it the older homes where maybe the rent is, I would guess, a little cheaper probably? What makes more sense if you want to be a landlord? Is it the new construction where you've got new homes, or is it the older homes, even if the maintenance might be higher?
Well, majority of the time people want the newer. They'll pay more for the newer, less maintenance properties. Being a handyman is not as common as it used to be, and it's hard to even find people like that to work on a property for you. That's the biggest part to me, and even I know the management companies in Eau Claire are struggling to keep maintenance staff on hand. And like I said, nothing ever goes out at an opportune time, so if something goes wrong on a Sunday morning, trying to find somebody to get there.
Right.
So if you're one of those people that is handy and can do electrical, carpentry, some plumbing, that helps a lot, both cost-wise, because those people aren't cheap anymore. Materials aren't cheap.
Sure.
And it's just getting there in kind of a timely manner as well to get that stuff done. So if you are a handyman, you can probably get by with the cheaper, older, it's going to be a little more maintenance.
Sure.
But if you can do it yourself, it's not too big of an inconvenience for you.
That leaves me out.
I'm not that handy either, so I do my best with YouTube University. But,
yeah, I know. My wife is a genius when it comes to that sort of stuff. She really is. I'm not kidding. If something goes wrong at her house, I'll go, I better call. She goes, no, wait a minute. And she'll look at YouTube, and I'll be darned if she can't fix it usually.
No, that's pretty good.
I know. She's really handy, where I'm just not that way. I'm not. If my car doesn't start, it's time to buy a new one. No, I'm kidding. But, I'm just not handy. Okay, so once you've got the rental property, then what? Now you've got to figure out how to get it filled.
Yep, and a lot of times there's probably going to be tenants in there while you're buying it, so then
Sure.
you just take over the leases that they have signed.
Right.
But if there isn't tenants in there, you're going to have to advertise, if you're locally here, you can advertise in the local paper. Otherwise, online, people use Facebook. Otherwise, I used Zillow and Apartments.com.
Right.
But you got to, screen tenants. I always do background checks. You don't have to, but I always try and do it because it'll give you a pretty good idea into how good they're going to be at keeping up on rent on time. So especially doing credit checks. I always used to do credit checks. It costs you $20 to $30 to do them.
Well worth it.
It's well worth it.
Yeah, you don't want to get your renter and then find out that they've skated on the rent at their last 4 properties. So yeah, I mean I can understand that. It makes sense. Do those reference checks to make sure.
And I've tenants are smart. They'll rent a suit and a fancy car for the day to come down to make it look like they have money. And you do a background check. I know this wasn't me, but I know somebody that personally did that, and they had nothing.
You're kidding. Wow, that's cheesy.
So I always it's easy. You're just drawn to that. Oh, they seem really good. They got the money now, and they're happy with it. And it's just do your background checks. I mean, if it's going to work out, the background check will go fine, and it'll be fine.
Now, what is standard for a rental unit? Is it first and last month plus deposit, or is there a standard today for that?
I don't know if it's actually a standard or not. A lot of people do, security deposit with first month's rent. I actually started doing the first and last month's rent and the security deposit just because a lot of people will skip on the last month.
Sure.
So, and then you don't have any money left over from the security deposit to make repairs because there's going to be, people, even if you have a good tenant, it's just general wear and tear. Things that need to be addressed, or refrigerators go out.
So I guess the watchword here, if you want to be a landlord, show me the money.
Yep. And show me you could pay the money on time and regularly.
Exactly. And just because it appears they have money doesn't mean they do.
Yep, because, a lot of people live pretty close to the edge. So
things aren't always what they seem, are they?
Nope.
All right. And for lease, is it usually your lease now that you're looking at?
It's typically what people do. I mean, you can choose if you want to do a 6-month, but obviously with winter, nobody wants a house empty and nobody wants to be moving in winter. So a lot of times people will do 12 months. And then you should keep up on renewing the lease. A lot of people don't, and it just it goes to Wisconsin law. I think it says it's just month to month. So
okay, now of course Hanson Realty, you guys are famous for buying and selling properties. Do you help with the investment market as far as helping with tenants and that kind of thing as well? Is that part of your business at all?
We don't do any of that. I've actually had people ask me that over the years. It is the same license to sell real estate in Wisconsin as it is to manage. But it's kind of you got to focus more on that area because it's always changing.
Sure.
So it's easier, I've seen lately, to go with the management companies who keep up on that and have people, because it's like anything, it's liability nowadays over anything.
So if you want information on who handles that sort of thing, you can help them with that.
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, let's talk about some listings that you've got here that are on the market. And first of all, the ones in Independence.
Yeah,
those are nice houses.
They are very nice, and they're all a little bit different. So there's 4 houses, but they are not all the same. There's 2 3-bedrooms, 2 2-bedrooms, all with a master bath. So, and a third stub bathroom in the basement, so you can add a bathroom in the basement and some more living space if you want to put a bedroom or 2 down there and a family room.
Sure.
But the 3 bedrooms are down to $269,900, and the 2 bedrooms are $264,900.
Boy, that's really good. That's good pricing right there, and especially that close to the school system in Independence, and you can walk for ice cream at JoJo's. Yep,
you could walk pretty much anywhere. You got JoJo's, you can walk to school, you can walk to the park.
It's a good location. It really is, and I tell you, if you're looking for a good place for your family in Independence, that is a beautiful division right there, up right behind SS Peter and Paul.
It is, and I also got those city lots in that same development there. They're doing that promotion now. If you buy a lot and build a house and live in it for a year, you get half the cost of the lot back.
Well, what's the cost of lots? I know it varies. It depends on location and size.
Yeah, they're all different. They're online.
Okay.
If somebody reaches out to me, I have a spreadsheet I can give you, but they're all a little bit different, kind of based on square footage. So. And
tell me about this property over by Fountain City up on the ridge. That I think that must be a beautiful piece of property.
It is. I'm surprised it's still on the market here with hunting season approaching. 69.2 acres just on the Fountain City Ridge. You have easement access from the highway, but it's all wooded rec land. A lot of elevation change. You got your natural food plots all around it with the farmers planting it for you, and a few shadow hunters, which are, they're quite costly. I think they're about $3,000 now for shadow hunters, and they got the heaters and the LP tanks and office chairs in them, so they are ready to go. Probably need to do just a little bit of brushing on some of the trails because not all of them were used as much as others, but it's a very nice property, and you could easily navigate throughout it.
I'll tell you what, if you take a look at the price per acre on that, if you just do the math on that, that's a good investment right there.
It is. Land is just always a great investment, if you ask me.
And if being up on the Fountain City Ridge, the view of the river and the surrounding area must be pretty spectacular.
You get breathtaking views up there. It's only, I guess I didn't map it out, it's probably only a few miles, 5 miles from Fountain City, so you're not very far down the ridge before you drop down into Fountain City there.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a great investment right there, especially if you like to hunt or you want to do some leasing for hunting. I don't think there's got to be deer galore up there.
Oh, there is.
All right. Well, if people want to give you a shout, what's the best way to do that, Josh?
My cell phone, you can call or text 715-533-4114.
All right, and make sure you check out hregroup.com. That's where you can find all their listings and the auctions that are going on. You've always got live auctions and property auctions too.
Oh yeah, we're usually pretty busy. So
all right, well, make sure you check out hregroup.com. Give Josh a call if you're looking to lease or not lease, if you're looking to buy or sell a property or invest in some investment property. He's a good guy to get a hold of.
I'd be more than happy to help anybody out.
All right, Josh, thank you for joining me today on Open House. Who's up next week, do you know?
Jamie, I believe.
Jamie. Well, that's always fun. We like talking to Jamie.
Oh yeah.
All right, Josh Baecker with Hanson Realty Group on Open House here on WHTL.